Welcome to Healing Vibes with Ariel, healing body, mind, and soul. Hello, everyone. Thanks for dropping in. You've reached Healing Body, Mind, and Soul, and I am your host, Ariel Asher. Today, I have the good fortune and the pleasure to be with my new friends, Pam and Andy. I was so excited to have them come on the show today. We're going to talk a little bit about empaths. We're going to talk a little bit, well, I think that we can't get around talking about sound, because Andy was just saying to me earlier, asking some questions about where we wanted to go. So we don't really know where the conversation is going to take us today. We're going to start in with our friends here and hear about their healing path. Thank you so much for coming on, Pam and Andy. Welcome to Healing Body, Mind, and Soul.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you please tell our guests a little bit about the work you do, and most specifically, what got you started? How did all of this unfold?
Well, we are spiritual artists and we are rock hounds. We are sound healers, and nature is a strong, strong force in our lives. We love getting out in nature. Even before we met, we both were so into hiking. Outside, that outside feeling helped us breathe deeper, feel freer. It was really something that we both liked doing. We are both empaths and healers, but I'd say that started as children. And yes. We were both told we are overly sensitive, like a lot of empaths are told. And it was I felt it was a struggle at time, and I think Andy did too, especially because he was a boy, It's hard, yeah. And in the time, right, Andy? In the time
guys were not supposed to be sensitive.
Oh man, I gotcha. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that, Andy. When did you notice that you were sensitive, or when did you notice that you had maybe some different gifts that not everybody on your block participated in?
I think maybe when I was around 4 onward, I always could sense the different energies of my family members. It wasn't just my visual observations. I could just sense what people needed, and I could predict where situations were going, and I would intuitively sense that and move in to try to solve it, to try to calm the waters and to balance it. But I was very good at sensing from a young age what was going to happen in the family and what to do about it.
I think that when we're talking in the context of empaths, I think that most empaths do sort of have this ability to tap in and be the healer for their family unit, right? I think that's kind of where the gift comes from. Can you talk a little bit about that? Where do you think the gift comes from?
I just think it's a power that everyone, I think, has to some degree, but it takes time sometimes people have barriers that keep them from listening to that voice or that feeling. For me, and I think for Pam, we didn't have those barriers. We sensed those feelings, and they were real. But a lot of people, I think, question it. And I think I was always told, don't be paranoid. I would sense something, and I was told, no, you're just being oversensitive, or you're, being paranoid about it. But I always was very good at sensing, issues that were coming up.
When you say you're sensing, are we talking about energies? Are we? I know the answer to this, but I would like you to. Are you talking about energies? Are you talking about emotions? Are you talking about entities? What are you talking about specifically when you're saying that you're sensing things?
I would sense energies and emotions, and I think situational energies as well. I think I've always had a very sensitive ability to sense problems, anticipate problems. And I think that's a situational sensitivity.
I love this heightened sensitivity. Now, as a child that was always told I was too sensitive, oh, shoot, I'm an adult and I'm still told very many times that I'm too sensitive. How can somebody that has that oversensitivity reframe things so that they can make that their superpower instead of the bane of their existence? How can they reframe that?
I think the first thing is to be grounded. Because when you're grounded, and we can talk about how we ground ourselves, but when you're grounded, you have that ability to calmly review a situation and think, am I feeling something? Is it real, or is it someone else's feelings? To ascertain what's going on. And I think empaths and people who are highly sensitive have the ability, or they have the tendency to sort of elevate or drift a little bit on other people's feelings or what's going on. And they have to be able to ground themselves, have a bit of a shield around themselves to separate their feeling, their energy from others around them. And that's important for protection as an empath, because I found that because I didn't understand how to protect myself, I burnt myself out. And I think that's really an easy thing for empaths to fall into. Maybe they're too busy trying to solve people's problems, or maybe they're just sensing so much. So if you have a home practice that helps you ground yourself and protect yourself, that's the greatest way to start. And also, a home practice can help you refine your skills, your ability to perceive, and build upon them, and work to enlarge those psychic talents that you have.
Pam, what do you think? Let's have you chime in.
I think Andy and I are highly intuitive empaths. We feel vibration, but I think that all these talents got stronger from home practice.
Sure.
Yeah. And there are times where I'm really surprised how intuitive we both are. And I know it's from home practice. I would say, yes, we do yin yoga, and it's a slow pace yoga that's very meditative, but meditation does something to you that really helps your psychic ability. And I think it's for everyone. I think that everyone has psychic ability. I really do. I really do. Andy, I think most of our lives, we pretty much tried to ignore it.
Yeah.
Because it can be painful.
Yeah. I have noticed that a lot of my guests and a lot of my clients have psychic abilities. I know I can speak for myself. I've always known that I had psychic abilities. I've always known that I'm highly sensitive. However, what other people perceive those abilities to be, for example, I'm really not clairvoyant. I'm claircognizant and clairaudient, right? So images and perceptions come to me in different ways. And it took me a long time to hone my skills because I was expecting them to be one way and they showed up another way, right? The training I got really focused a lot on clairvoyance. So I did train to be more clairvoyant, just like you can train to be more empathetic, right?
Mhm.
Which doesn't actually mean you're an empath. It just means you sort of train in those skills. But I agree with you wholeheartedly, Pam. I think everybody has the possibility and has, unless their pineal gland is completely calcified or something like that, and there's no movement on the crystals surrounding the pineal gland or something, unless there's like some physiological thing, I think that everybody could tap into being extrasensory, as it were. What do you think of that? Andy's sort of nodding. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Totally. And I think that sometimes people will say things like spontaneously and they're not thinking about it and they'll predict the future. So it's, for me, when I listen to someone and they say something spontaneously, it's like a cue for me. Like, oh, that's going to happen. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily come from me. It could come from someone else. But it's that response that they have where they're thinking, but they're not really logically like thinking it through. Yeah, I don't know
when I hear that, it sounds like you're talking about messages being delivered through other people as channels.
Yes.
Is that sort of like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they don't even know they're doing it.
I tell the story a lot on my podcast. How I used to live close to a Safeway that I referred to as the Safeway vortex, because literally in the middle of the night, I would be woken up sometimes and have a burning need for orange juice or ice cream or something. And these are not food cravings, right? There was some reason, or, oh, I need milk for tomorrow to get everything ready. So I have just stacks of stories of being all of a sudden urged to go to the Safeway vortex, where I would see somebody that I hadn't seen in 12 years, and they would walk up to me and deliver one of these uncanny messages. Or sometimes it was a stranger, and I would get these uncanny messages. And I would joke a lot with people on my podcast and share these stories a lot. Is this similar to what you're talking about, being prompted like this?
Yes, it's almost like when we go rock hounding, sometimes we'll come across an animal guide. Yes, so it's almost so that's what I think I learned from nature, that to look for cues, to look for things. Sometimes I don't look for them. Sometimes they just jump out at you. But
hopefully not with claws, right? Sometimes they jump out at you.
Yeah.
Only ginger cats. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. Ginger cats.
Yeah. So I always thought that psychic abilities would come from the person, but it doesn't always happen that way. It can, but it doesn't always happen that way. I think for Andy, it's a little bit more that way, that it comes from you. Don't you, like, you sense something, or it's not like you get messages so much. No, once in a while you get messages, right? Yeah.
I think about it, Andy. Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm partly responsible for that, because when my father passed away, I put a piece of blue kyanite in with him. And blue kyanite has the power to connect with people. And when my mother passed, I did the same thing. And I started finding that I would look through my eyes and sense my father looking through my eyes simultaneously. And I would hear him think in my head. It wasn't conversations that I was repeating from my memory. I can sense him inside my head sometimes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love this. So if somebody is trying to tease that apart for themselves and their own gifts like this are waking up, what would be your tip to them, Andy, in how to discern what is their own mental body chatter and what is a message from a greater source or perhaps a loved one? How would they tease apart that distinction?
Well, I think one thing to do, since we're talking about energies, is we're firm believers in clearing your space first. And I think clearing your space, whether it's with sage or we do singing bowls, however you choose to do it, one that eliminates some negative energy and energetic distraction, and two, it raises the frequency around you. So I would start with that, and I would start with some deep breathing, sitting down and doing some deep, relaxing breathing to slow your brain down. And I think when you slow your brain down, you get into different brainwave states. You get out of the alpha brainwave state, which can have anxiety and maybe over alertness, and you can get into a more calming and intuitive, slower brainwave state. And sometimes we meditate with rocks a lot, grounding gemstones. Sometimes we, decide how we feel, and that can be really grounding and centering. And I think it's just a conscious breathing and letting your mind wander a little bit, not a conscious analysis, but kind of a meandering, letting the mind go with what the thoughts are and not direct it, but almost be involved in witness consciousness, just stepping back a little bit and letting the feelings go through and then giving some thought to it. Like, what am I sensing? And I would say, don't reject anything, because it's so easy for us to be programmed to, oh, that's not right. You're imagining that. That couldn't be. If you're feeling something, there might be something there that you're sensing. So try to be receptive and non-judgmental, and just let it flow. That's, I think, a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that. So I'm just taking notes here, Andy and Pam. What I've noticed is that you've reminded the listeners that grounding is an essential practice, and that clearing your space of negative mind chatter, but also using tools like the crystals and the sage to clear your space in order to have more distinction of the energies that you're experiencing. Am I getting that right?
Absolutely. And we clear space with our tinctures, our singing bowls, our bells. We're very sound. Sound is something that we both gravitate to. And we even clear our crystals with our singing bowls. There's a method that we do where we take a singing bowl and we put a pillow in the singing bowl so that the crystal doesn't scratch the singing bowl. And you can either tap the singing bowl or you can sing it where you go around the singing bowl. And the vibrations clear that crystal or gemstone. And we really like it. We really like it. Yeah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Actually, when you put the crystal in the bowl, a lot of times the bowl even sounds like deeper, it has a different sound than it does without it in the bowl. But you can put it beside the bowl too if you feel uncomfortable with the crystal in the bowl. So sounds really can clear spaces. Even if you go to corners of rooms and you clap to get that energy to move. I had a teacher once who was teaching energy work, and he said to sweep, actually with a broom. I always like to vacuum, so I was like, sweep.
Vacuuming seems quicker, right? But for good energy, we might want to.
Yeah. So to get that energy, because corners collect, negative energy. So every time I look at a corner, I'm thinking, move away that dust and that. Yeah, they don't.
Corners collect energy, don't they? It gets stuck and it things around in there. Now, I love what you've touched on here, Pam. I love that we're talking about brain waves. We're talking about sound, and sound moves energy. We can talk about energy pathways, but it's the frequency and the sound waves that actually create movement and change there. I know that Andy has a couple gems just about sound healing that he must be sitting on over there. I see his Cheshire cat grin as I'm bringing up sound. Let's talk some phonons and some photons. Andy, can you tell us about how sound affects energy?
Well, sound, there's a lot of discussion. It's been going on for a while about energy, how everything is energy. And sound is energy. And there's a really incredible series of dynamics between sound waves and the human body. Now, it's pretty amazing that we evolved in such a way that our body, through our ears and our nervous system, converts actual physical sound waves into electrical currents. And so when we hear something through our ear, it goes through the eardrum and the bones and the cochlea, and it becomes electrical energy that's sent to the brain. And it's the brain frequencies that affect brainwave patterns, because our brains will try to mirror certain patterns, certain brainwave frequencies. So I'm fascinated with the idea that we can convert one form of energy into another, into a form that we can use and which is so beneficial for us. And there are many ways. I think one of the things that drew, both of us into singing bowls is the quality of the sound. It transports you to another place spiritually. The echoes of it and the changing of the sounds as you play it. It's just magical. And then the effects of the sound waves are just so diverse. It can, through your hearing, it goes to the brain and it can affect your hormones. Recent studies have come out that sound healing with singing bowls raises your DHEA levels. And DHEA is a master hormone, and increased levels in DHEA directly result in the decrease of cortisol levels. And cortisol is great for activity, but it also has an anxiety component to it. And sound healing with singing bowls can also increase melatonin levels. And one study I was reading found the majority of their participants had better sleep. I think it was 75% had better sleep after a 45-minute singing bowl sound experience. So that by itself is just amazing.
I know, just those facts alone are enough. recently I have been doing voice analysis on my clients and prescribing specific tones that they can chant in order to strengthen the bio energetic field. And I'm seeing some awesome results. Now, I have been using singing bowls like you guys for a long time, but I love this, the intentionality and vibrating your own voice, the intention from within, and having the resonators come from within. There's something so powerful about that. So I can tell that we can geek out on all this stuff together. I think that we are definitely like-minded individuals. I'm so excited by what you're saying and the angle that you're coming from for your in your healing work. I'm very, very impressed. I did have one thing before we started the conversation. I'm going to backtrack a little bit in my conversation. My audience knows that I have Gemini rising, and I always use that as an excuse for my jumping around with subjects. But I'm going to stick to that story because it works in my favor in this case. I would love to circle back around. Now that we've dipped our tentacles into the sound world a little bit, and go back to our subject of empaths, because we're winding up our time here. And there was one really juicy question that I wanted to ask you guys, so I need to backtrack a little bit in the empath conversation. And that is, I have been witnessing so much lately about these polar conversations between the empaths and the narcissists. Now, I don't know that empaths is actually a clinical mental health state or diagnosis, but I'm noticing this weird polarization in this conversation. Have you noticed this at all? Do you guys know what I'm talking about, or am I going off into hyperspace?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, because I've noticed, and I want to ask other professionals what they think of this conversation, because to me, although I'm an empath, I don't want to empower the empaths to have a victim consciousness around this dynamic. So I would love for either of you to speak into that space for a moment, just about this polarization between narcissists and empaths.
Okay. If I understand narcissism, it's a self-centeredness. Would you agree on that?
I do agree with that. So it's easy to see how empaths and narcissists kind of get in a tangle, because I think that empath loses their sense of self easily, or can be if they're not strong in their own boundaries.
So I would think that the empath and the narcissist may just be different points on the spectrum of outward focus and inward focus.
Beautifully stated.
That an empath will sense other things around them and pay attention to the other person's feelings or emotions or energy, and the narcissist will reject that. The narcissist may sense it, but for some reason not care. But I don't think that being a narcissist means you can't have empathetic feelings or senses. You just choose not to pay attention to the other person's feelings.
Interesting. Pam, do you have anything you want to throw in there on this one?
Yes. Again, because an empath focuses on outside feelings of energy or other people's feelings, trying to fix things in their family, their emotions, I really get back to the point of rooting, grounding. It's just so important for that kind of person, because an empath really, I mean, it doesn't mean that you're better. It really doesn't mean that you're a better person because you're an empath. But empaths tend to go straight to the heart. Exactly. And that's not always good. That's not always, it's not good. You really need to control it. You really need to balance that heart chakra, and you must start from the root chakra. You must. So if you have, a friend, or you're an empath, or a child that's suffering, I think they're going to run into people who are narcissists. I mean, they need to do things to help strengthen their rooting and their centering chakra. They really do, because there is an imbalance there. I think there's a definite imbalance. And I'm not saying imbalance in a bad way, because I am an empath, and I have to often remind myself to balance myself. And I do that during home practice. So, and yeah, I think our society is very into labeling. So it's very empowering for me that term empath came up, because it's a positive term than, oh, you're highly sensitive.
Yeah.
No, it's empowering, but not to get stuck there with that labeling. Yeah. Highly sensitive to me is like, oh, there, you're highly sensitive. Like it's not really a compliment. So yeah, but yeah. So yeah, it is a spectrum, though.
I love this. I think this is the best point, that everybody falls somewhere on the spectrum, and we're all a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? It's a moving frequency. I'm just so intrigued by this conversation, because I just was noticing some whininess in some conversations, where people were really polarizing and pointing fingers and not being responsible for their own energy and for their own piece in the situation. So thank you so much for weighing in. I've been asking everybody about that conversation. Thank you so much for going.
Thank you. Yeah.
You two have given us so much juice. There's so much grit here, and so much possibility for expansion and evolution. Can you tell our listeners how they can get a little piece of you if they are wanting to lean in and learn more about your healing work and your sound healing work?
Certainly. We would invite people to visit our website. It is www.theindigosanctuary.com. And on our website, we have educational blogs. And we have blogs about sound healing and gemstones and chakras. And so we invite people to go and visit that and read about it, because for some people, they may be topics that are new to them, or give another perspective on that. So we invite that. And on our website, we also describe giving. We have a giving section where we talk about the giving activities that we do, because we believe in energy sharing. We receive a lot of energy. We're grateful for it, and we like to return that healing energy. So that's important to us, and that's in our website. We do have products that we make with our ethically sourced gemstones and singing bowls. We really try to offer items that we think are helpful because we use them all. We either make them or we ethically obtain them, and we work with them. And we want to be there to provide people with guidance about how to explore their own personal journey, and provide them with things they may need, tools to help them along the way. We're also on Instagram at theindigosanctuary.com, and we have a lot of information there as well. And Facebook, and our Facebook label is The Indigo Sanctuary. We invite people to contact us with their questions. Our email is theindigosanctuary@gmail.com. And we love to hear from people about what are they interested in, what are their questions. And we're very happy to share information with them. And we do offer some services. If someone buys a singing bowl from us, and we only sell 7 metal handmade bowls from Nepal, if someone buys a bowl, I offer them a Zoom lesson to make sure that they can play the bowl and they're comfortable with it, and they can have that relationship with their bowl and work with it. And Pam offers a short session services to help people build their own personal practice, 2 or 3 sessions to help them get started with their own personal spiritual practice that suits them.
So many juicy things for our listeners to lean into. That's wonderful. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you two on. I love at this time of mass global awakening that fantastic couples like you that are embodying divine feminine and divine masculine and empowering everybody that's waking up, all those little light workers popping off, that you're really there for them. I love what you guys are up to, and I feel so grateful to spend this time with you today. Did you have any super tips you want to leave the listeners with before we shove off here today?
Well, we just want to get the point across that home practice really will help you become your authentic self. And you won't really have to try that hard. Also having a sanctuary, it doesn't have to be a whole room. It could be a corner room. It could be a little shelf, is also very helpful too as well. And that is really a very grounding experience to have a home practice that you created yourself, maybe with a couple different suggestions, but really the person should create it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. You heard it here. You're going to want to lean into the Indigo Sanctuary to get a hold of Pam and Andy so that you can create your own daily self-care practice so that you can be empowered in your own evolution. Pam and Andy, it is amazing to have you here today. I know I want to have you come back and talk specifically about some stones. I got my interest piqued, but I was blabbing away about so many other things. We didn't even get there today. We covered so much terrain in this short time together, and I'm sure that our listeners are going to really appreciate this episode.
Thank you.
Everybody, that is our time for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I want to wish everybody a great day. And until next time, happy healing. I'm your host and guide, Ariel Asher. So many of my clients and students ask me how I'm able to interview all my guests, speak, teach, and perform in front of large audiences with so much confidence and ease. Well, the truth of the matter is that I've been doing it for so long, I've developed a practice around my vocal delivery, the organization of my material, and my overall presence. I have taught public speaking, stage presence, and personal development to performers, community leaders, and presenters for decades. I wanted to share all my best tips in a virtual program that I have created called the Confident Speaker Training Program. I designed it for speakers, authors, educators, empowerment leaders, and transformational coaches who are ready to step into their fullest potential with clarity and confidence so that they can share their heart, their story, and their wisdom with the world. It's time for you to embody your best self, to speak up and shine. The Confident Speaker Training Program is right for you if you want some scalable templates to increase your effectiveness as an influential speaker. Most of all, the Confident Speaker Training Program is right for you if you want to learn about how to tap into your authentic voice and deliver your message powerfully, clearly, and effectively so that your audiences want to lean in to hear what you have to say. As a result of this program, you'll create a pre-talk voice and energy warm-up routine and a pre-talk checklist. Understand how to connect and how to engage your audience while speaking. Practice fun improv exercises to develop laser-sharp speaking skills. Test your material and your progress with spotlight coaching and group feedback. Be able to make an offer without feeling like you're selling your soul. Have the support and feedback of myself and a group of like-minded peers. Can you imagine being able to stand in front of an audience with absolute confidence, knowing that you've captivated their attention without compromising your truth? Can you just see yourself beaming with joy as your audience roars with applause? Can you feel the satisfaction of making an offer that people flock to? Over the years, I have instructed hundreds, if not thousands, of students, speakers, performers, educators, and coaches on the secrets of focused intention, articulate messaging, and a clear and concise voice in order to become more confident speakers, more efficient communicators, and better leaders in their community. I would be honored to assist you as well. So what do you think? Are you ready? Isn't it time you speak up with confidence and let yourself shine? For this limited time, I'm offering this 6-session Confident Speaker Program valued at $497, all for the introductory price of $197. This introductory pricing is not going to last forever. So if you're interested in increasing your confidence, boosting your presence, and strengthening your voice, I encourage you to sign up for one of our upcoming sessions of the Confident Speaker Training Program as soon as possible, as space is limited. May you presence your most confident self. Sign up today and let yourself shine. Go to confidentspeaker, all one word, .arielasher.com. That's Confident Speaker, Ariel, A-E-R-I-O-L, Asher, A-S-C-H-E-R.com.